The grand chandelier sparkled above them, casting golden light over a hall filled with people who smiled. But not all of them meant it. Jeon Jungkook stood tall, cold, unreadable as always. A CEO feared by employees, respected by rivals, and envied by the elite. And beside him, Kim Taehyung, soft, gentle, beautiful in a quiet way, dressed in a simple yet elegant white suit. His hands trembled slightly as he held Jungkook's arm. This world was not his, not the luxurious hall, not the wealthy guests, not the judging eyes, and definitely not the family standing just a few steps away. Jungkook's mother, her lips curved into a polite smile, but her eyes cold, sharp, unforgiving rested on Taehyung like he didn't belong. Because in her heart, he didn't. Are you sure about this, Jungkook? She had asked just days ago. He has nothing. No family, no background, no status. Just love. And for Jungkook, that was enough. I'm not marrying his background, Jungkook had replied coldly. I'm marrying him. That was the end of the conversation. Or so it seemed. Jungkook didn't look at the crowd. He looked only at Taehyung. For a brief second, his cold expression softened just enough for Taehyung to notice. That small moment was enough. Enough to make Taehyung believe that love could survive anything. But not everyone in that hall shared that belief. At the front row sat Jungkook's mother, her posture rigid, her lips pressed into a thin line of disapproval. Beside her, Jungkook's sister leaned slightly forward, whispering with barely concealed irritation. I still don't understand, she muttered. Out of everyone, he chose him? His mother didn't respond immediately. Her eyes were fixed on Taehyung. He'll never belong here, she finally said. The vows were simple. Jungkook's voice was steady. I choose you. That was all. No long promises, no poetic declarations. Just those three words. But coming from him, they meant everything. Taehyung's voice trembled slightly. I've already chosen you, a long time ago. And just like that, they were married. The mansion was too big. Taehyung realized it the moment he stepped inside after the wedding. The ceilings were high, the walls decorated with expensive art. Perfect decoration, but no warmth, no welcome. It didn't feel like a home. Make yourself comfortable, Jungkook said, already loosening his tie. You'll get used to it, he said without turning back. Taehyung nodded, even though Jungkook couldn't see him. I will. And he meant it. Because this was his new life. Because Jungkook was here. That was enough. Days passed. Then weeks. Jungkook became busier. Meetings, trips, calls, late nights, early mornings. Sometimes he didn't come home at all. And Taehyung, he stayed, waiting. Every day, in the beginning, he tried. He tried to help, to belong, to fit into a family that never wanted him. Good morning, mother. Silence. I made tea. I don't drink things made by strangers. He tried everything. Cooking meals, decorating the house, learning how to behave like someone who belonged in this world. But nothing changed. Jungkook's sister ignored him. His mother criticized him. Servants whispered behind his back. He's just lucky. He'll be thrown out soon. Taehyung never replied, never argued, never complained. Because at night, when Jungkook finally came home, when he sat beside him, when he rested his head against his shoulder, when Jungkook whispered softly, how was the day? Taehyung always smiled. Yeah, it was good, but I missed you a lot. Because he believed something simple, something heartbreaking. As long as Jungkook loves me, I can endure anything. Rain poured heavily that night. Dark clouds swallowed the sky, and thunder echoed like something was about to break. Inside the mansion, something already had. Jungkook stood in the living room, his jaw clenched, eyes colder than ever before. A file was clenched tightly in his hand. The door opened softly. Taehyung stepped in, slightly drenched from the rain, holding a small bag of groceries. I made your favorite. Stop. The word cut through the air like a blade. Taehyung froze. Something was wrong. Very wrong. Taehyung's heart dropped. Jungkook. But Jungkook didn't answer. He threw his coat aside, his sharp gaze locking onto Taehyung like a storm ready to explode. How long were you planning to lie to me? Taehyung froze. What? Jungkook let out a bitter laugh. Don't act innocent. I. I don't understand. Of course you don't, Jungkook snapped, stepping closer. That's what you're good at, right? Acting. Each word felt like a blade. Taehyung shook his head, panic rising. Jungkook, please, just tell me what happened. What happened? Jungkook's voice rose. What happened is that I finally saw the truth. Taehyung's chest tightened. Truth? Jungkook's eyes were cold. Cruel. The truth that you married me for my money. Silence. Complete silence. As if the world itself had stopped breathing. Taehyung blinked. Once. Twice. What? His voice was barely a whisper. Jungkook stepped closer, his presence overwhelming. Don't deny it. I'm not. I saw the documents. Jungkook shouted. Transferred funds, hidden accounts. You think I wouldn't find out? Taehyung's mind spun. I didn't do anything like that, I swear. Stop lying. Jungkook grabbed his shoulders harshly. Do you think I'm stupid? Taehyung flinched, tears instantly filling his eyes. Tell me something, Taehyung. His voice was low, dangerously calm. Was it always this easy for you? I would never, Jungkook. Please, you have to believe me. Believe you? Jungkook laughed bitterly. I did believe. Jungkook snapped. His voice echoed through the mansion. For months, I trusted you. He stepped closer. Too close. And this is what you were doing behind my back? Taehyung shook his head desperately. I never lied to you. I love you. Love, Jungkook scoffed. People like you don't know what love is. That broke something. Completely. Taehyung's voice cracked. People like me? Yes, Jungkook said coldly. People who come from nothing and are willing to do anything to rise. Tears fell silently down Taehyung's face, each word cutting deeper than the last. You think I used you? Jungkook didn't hesitate. Yes, that single word destroyed everything. I waited for you every night. His voice was barely a whisper. I endured everything, your family, their words. He looked up, eyes full of pain Jungkook refused to see. And you think I stayed for money? For a second, just 1 second. Jungkook hesitated, but his anger was louder than his heart. Get out of my sight. And just like that, the man Taehyung loved became the one who broke him. Days passed. Jungkook didn't speak to him, didn't look at him, didn't ask anything, as if Taehyung already didn't exist. The hospital room smelled like antiseptic. Cold, empty, just like Taehyung felt inside. He sat alone, hands resting on his lap, eyes unfocused. The doctor's words echoed again and again in his mind. Congratulations, you're pregnant. At first, he couldn't breathe. Then, he smiled, actually smiled, for the first time in weeks. A small, fragile hope bloomed in his chest. A piece of Jungkook, a reason to hold on. But that hope didn't last long, because reality came crashing back. Jungkook's words, his anger, his disbelief. You married me for money. Taehyung's hand slowly moved to his stomach, trembling. How do I tell you? He whispered to himself. How do I tell someone who doesn't even believe me anymore? Days passed. He didn't tell Jungkook. Not once. He waited, hoping things would change, hoping Jungkook would come back to him, hoping for something impossible. But instead, things only got worse. Cold glances, sharp words, endless silence. Taehyung grew weaker. Sleepless nights, endless crying, silent suffering. He stopped eating properly, stopped smiling, stopped hoping. One afternoon, the pain started. Sharp, sudden, unforgiving. Taehyung gasped, clutching his stomach as he collapsed onto the cold floor. His vision blurred. His body trembled. Please, no, not this. Tears streamed down his face as he curled into himself. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. But apologies couldn't stop it. Love couldn't save it. And pain didn't care. By the time he reached the hospital, it was too late. The doctor's voice was soft, but the words were brutal. I'm sorry, we couldn't save the baby. Something inside Taehyung died with those words. He didn't scream, didn't cry, didn't react. He just stared at the ceiling, as if his soul had quietly left his body. The doctor hesitated. You were under a lot of stress, your condition. But Taehyung didn't listen, because all he could hear was one thing. You married me for money. And suddenly, everything made sense. Love wasn't enough. It never was. When he came back home, the house looked the same, felt the same, cold, empty, unforgiving. Jungkook was there, sitting, working, as if nothing had changed. Taehyung looked at him for a long moment and realized something. He couldn't stay. Not anymore. I want a divorce. Jungkook looked up sharply. For the first time in days. What? Taehyung's voice was calm. Too calm. I'm leaving. Jungkook frowned. Because you got caught? Taehyung didn't react, didn't argue, didn't defend himself. Because what was the point? Say something, Jungkook demanded. Explain yourself. Taehyung looked at him, and for the first time, there was no love in his eyes, only emptiness. I lost something, Taehyung said quietly. Jungkook's brows furrowed. What does that even mean? Taehyung's lips trembled slightly, but he didn't cry. Not anymore. Something you don't deserve to know about. And that was the cruelest punishment. Not anger, not revenge, but silence. Jungkook felt something unfamiliar twist in his chest. Taehyung, but Taehyung had already turned away. Because this time, he wasn't waiting anymore. He walked out of the house, out of the marriage, out of the life he once thought was everything. And Jungkook stood there, for the first time, not angry, not cold, but uneasy, because something told him he didn't just lose an argument. He lost something far more important. 6 months. 6 months of silence. 6 months of a house that felt bigger, emptier, colder than ever before. Jeon Jungkook had everything: power, wealth, control. But none of it mattered anymore, because the one person who once filled the silence with warmth was gone. He hadn't seen Taehyung since the day he left. Not a call, not a message, not even a trace. At first, Jungkook told himself it didn't matter, that Taehyung would come back. People like him always did, right? But days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and Taehyung never returned. He didn't say Taehyung's name anymore, but it lived in everything. In the empty chair at the dining table, in the untouched side of the bed, in the quiet that no longer felt peaceful, just suffocating. And yet, he never once tried to find him, not because he didn't care, but because pride and anger had convinced him that he was right, that Taehyung had betrayed him, that leaving him was justified. One evening, Jungkook returned home earlier than usual. The house was quiet, too quiet. As he walked past the hallway, voices stopped him. His mother and his sister Somin. "I told you it would work," Somin said with a small laugh. Jungkook froze. His mother sighed. "You went too far." "No, I did exactly what was needed," Somin replied. "That orphan was getting too comfortable. Do you really think someone like him could marry Jungkook without an agenda?" She laughed again. "I just helped speed things up." Jungkook's grip tightened. Something felt wrong. "I forged those documents perfectly," she continued proudly. Even Jungkook couldn't tell they were fake. Silence. "And those photos," she added with a smirk in her voice. "Edited, simple." Jungkook's heart stopped. "I just gave him a little push," she laughed softly. "He destroyed that marriage himself." The world shattered. Jungkook stepped forward. Slowly, dangerously. "What did you say?" The voices inside the room fell silent. So-min turned, her face draining of color. Jae Jungkook, his eyes, dark, deadly, unrecognizable. "Say it again." She stuttered. I was just." "You framed him?" The roar shook the entire house. His mother stepped in quickly. "Jungkook, calm down. Don't." His voice dropped, low, terrifying. He turned back to So-min. "You lied to me." She shook her head, panicking. "I did it for you. He didn't belong here." "Enough." Jungkook's chest rose and fell rapidly. His mind replayed everything. Every word, every accusation, every moment he doubted Taehyung. Taehyung's trembling voice. "I just wanted you." His tears, his silence, his broken eyes. And Jungkook didn't believe him. "You lied," Jungkook whispered. So-min stepped forward quickly. "I did it for you. That man was using you." "Shut up." Jungkook's eyes burned with something terrifying. Not anger. Guilt. "You," his voice shook. "You destroyed him." "No, Jungkook, listen." "And you believed them." She snapped suddenly, her own frustration spilling out. "You didn't even trust him enough to listen." That hit harder than anything.
Because it was true. Jungkook staggered back slightly, his chest tightening, his breathing uneven. No, but the truth wasn't done with him yet. There's more, one maid whispered nervously. Somin went pale. Don't. He was pregnant. The world stopped. Jungkook blinked. Once. Twice. What? I took him to the hospital that day, the woman continued softly. He lost conscious crying, alone. The doctors said the stress caused a miscarriage. Jungkook couldn't breathe. His voice cracked. No, that's not. But it was. No. Memories flooded back. Taehyung's pale face, his trembling hands, the way he said, I lost something. I. His knees nearly gave out. I killed my own child. And worse, he destroyed the person who loved him the most. The truth didn't set Jungkook free. It destroyed him. The moment he learned everything, every lie, every manipulation, every cruel word he had thrown at Taehyung, something inside him broke beyond repair. He searched that very night. Taehyung's old apartment. Empty. The landlord shrugged. He left weeks ago. Taehyung had disappeared. Completely. No calls. No messages. No trace. Jungkook searched everywhere. Hospitals. Old apartments. Shelters. Even the smallest places Taehyung once mentioned in passing. Nothing. It was like Taehyung had vanished from the world. Days turned into sleepless nights. Nights into endless searching. He stopped eating properly. Stopped going home. Because every corner of the home reminded him of Taehyung. The couch where he used to wait. The dining table where he ate alone. The quiet welcome back that Jungkook could never answer properly. And the worst, the memory he could never erase. Taehyung's trembling voice. I lost something you don't deserve to know about. His mother tried to speak to him. I only wanted what was best. Don't. Jungkook's voice was cold. You don't get to talk about him. His sister avoided him entirely. Namjoon, his close friend and PA, stayed. Silent. Supportive. But even he knew. Jungkook was breaking. Sir, you need to stop this, he said carefully one day. Jungkook didn't even look up. Find him. Because if he stopped searching, that would mean accepting that Taehyung was truly gone. And Jungkook couldn't survive that truth.
Jungkook was no longer the same man. He still wore suits, still ran his empire, still commanded respect, but his eyes were empty, ruthless in business, silent in life. People feared him even more now because this Jungkook had nothing left to lose. Sir, there's a proposal you should review. Jungkook didn't look up from his laptop. Send it to Namjoon. It's already been reviewed, the assistant replied carefully. They suggested you should personally take a look. That made Jungkook pause. Slowly, he closed the file in front of him. Why? The assistant stepped forward, placing a folder on the desk. This company has been rising rapidly over the past 2 years. The market is shifting, and this company is leading it. Namjoon, who was standing by the window, added quietly. They've outperformed competitors in half the time. Strategic expansions, flawless execution, no public exposure. Jungkook leaned back slightly. Now interested? Name? V group. Silence. Jungkook's fingers tapped lightly against the table. Never heard of them before. That's the strange part, Namjoon said. They appeared out of nowhere and now major investors are chasing them. They've taken over three major sectors in less than 18 months, Namjoon continued. Investors are calling them the future of the industry. Jungkook's eyes darkened slightly. Impressive. Our board believes we should collaborate with them. Jungkook's eyes narrowed. We don't seek partnerships. I understand, sir, the assistant said carefully. But at this rate, if we don't align with them, they could become our biggest competitor. That was enough. Jungkook picked up the file. Inside, everything was flawless. Strategy, growth, cold, precise. For some reason, it felt strange. Jungkook had never needed anyone. People came to him, begged for deals, waited months for meetings, but this time, and they're willing to collaborate with us? Yes, but the assistant hesitated. They only agreed to a direct meeting, no intermediaries. Jungkook closed the file slowly, set it up, not because he was curious about the owner, but because no one ignored an opportunity like this. The entire company buzzed with anticipation. The owner is finally coming. No one has ever seen him. They say he's colder than Mr. John. Jungkook sat at the head of the long conference table, fingers slightly tapping against the surface, calm on the outside. But something inside him was restless. The door opened, footsteps echoed, and then that voice. Apologies for the delay. Jungkook froze. No, it couldn't be. Slowly, he looked up. Kim Taehyung stood there, not the Taehyung who used to wait for him with soft eyes and quiet smiles. This Taehyung was untouchable. Sharp suit, straight posture, eyes colder than winter. Power radiated from him. The entire room fell silent, but Jungkook, he couldn't hear anything because all he could see was the man he had lost. Jungkook stood up suddenly. The chair scraped loudly against the floor. Everyone looked at him, but he didn't care. Taehyung. The name slipped out like a broken prayer. Taehyung paused. Slowly, he turned his head. Their eyes met, and Jungkook felt it, that sharp, merciless truth. There was nothing left. No warmth, no love, no softness, just distance. Professional, cold, untouchable. Mr. Jeon. The words were calm, polite, strangers' words, and it hurt more than anger ever could. Jungkook's voice trembled slightly. It's really you. Taehyung didn't react, didn't step closer, didn't soften. Instead, he walked past him, sat down across the table, opened the file. I believe we're here for business. The room stayed silent, tense, confused. Executives exchanged glances because something was wrong, very wrong. Jungkook didn't sit. His eyes never left the young, as if afraid he might disappear again. You disappeared. The words came out quietly, almost helplessly. Taehyung flipped a page, unbothered. Now, a small pause. I moved on. That sentence destroyed him. Jungkook finally sat down slowly, but his hands trembled under the table. Sat at the head of table, documents open in front of him, but his eyes were on Taehyung.
The way he spoke, the way he carried himself, the way he no longer hesitated. No softness.
No nervous smiles, no quiet glances seeking approval. Taehyung didn't look at him at all, not once. Your proposal lacks long term stability, Taehyung said, flipping through the file without even glancing up. His tone was calm, professional, sharp. Jungkook clenched his jaw. We can revise it. Do that, Taehyung replied simply. Professional, distant, as if Jungkook was just another businessman. Nothing more. He couldn't find any more. That warmth, that gentle glow in Taehyung's eyes. It was gone. Completely. And Jungkook knew. He was the reason.
After a long meeting, people began to leave. Chairs shifted, voice faded. Taeyong stood up, calmly closing his file. Without word, he walked out. Jungkook's eyes followed him instinctively. Say something. Anything. Stay. Talk to me. Look at me like you used to. But he said nothing because he knew he had no right.
Jungkook's chest tightened. He stood up abruptly, almost without thinking. Taehyung. But the name died on his lips. Because Taehyung didn't stop, didn't turn, didn't even pause, as if he didn't hear him. Or worse, as if he chose not to. Jungkook's hand slowly dropped to his side. That distance, it was unbearable. The hallway was quiet. Soft lights, distant footsteps. Taeyong walked steadily, his expression still calm, until someone approached him. Long day? The voice was gentle, warm. Jungkook, who had just stepped out of the conference room, froze because Taeyong stopped and turned. He reached out naturally, taking the bag from Taehyung's hand. Effortless, familiar, like it was something he had done many times before. Taehyung didn't resist, didn't pull away. Instead, his shoulders relaxed slightly. It was, and then Taehyung smiled. A real smile. Soft, warm, alive. The kind of smile that reached his eyes. The kind Jungkook hadn't seen in years. His chest tightened painfully. You didn't eat, did you? He asked quietly. Taehyung let out a small breath, almost like a tired laugh. I was busy. The man frowned slightly. Not harsh, just concerned. That's not an excuse. Taehyung didn't argue, didn't defend himself. He just smiled again, softer this time. Okay. Jungkook stopped breathing because that smile, he knew it. He remembered it. He used to live for it. And now, it wasn't his anymore. Jungkook's fists clenched slightly. His chest tightened. Who is that? Someone whispered behind him. Jeon Hoseok, another employee, replied quietly. V Group's executive director, and the closest person to their CEO. Closest. The word echoed painfully. Jungkook's gaze darkened. Jeon Hoseok. Taeyong turned slightly, as if to leave, and for a brief second, his eyes met Jungkook's. The smile disappeared instantly, replaced by that cold, distant calm. Like a switch had been flipped. Jungkook felt it. The difference, the distance, the truth. Taehyung looked away first. Let's go, he said to Hoseok. And just like that, he walked past Jungkook again, without stopping, without looking back. Jungkook stood there in silence, watching the man he loved smile for someone else, and realizing he was no longer the reason behind Taeyong's happiness. Jungkook didn't sleep that night. He couldn't. That image, Taehyung smiling at someone else, kept replaying in his mind like a wound that refused to close. Find everything about him, the man who was with Taehyung. Jungkook's voice was low, cold, controlled. Namjoon didn't question it. Jaeon, Hoseok? He hesitated. This is personal. Everything, Jungkook repeated. An unbearable need to know. Who is he? To Taehyung. The file arrived the next morning. Jungkook sat alone in his office. The file in front of him felt heavier than anything he had ever held. Slowly, he opened it. Name Jeon Hoseok. His eyes moved down the page. And then he froze. Raised in the same orphanage as Kim Taehyung. Silence. Jungkook's grip tightened. He flipped the page faster. Heart beating louder. They knew each other. Not just knew. The deeper he looked, the clearer it became. They weren't strangers. Relationship, close companionship since childhood. Jungkook let out a hollow laugh. Of course, Hoseok knew Taehyung. Before him, before the marriage, before everything, he turned the page. Education, overseas, work history, international investments, silent partnerships, timeline. Hoseok left for abroad, higher studies and business training. Period overlaps with Taehyung's marriage. So that's why I don't know about him. Jungkook turned the page. His eyes scanned the next section. And then they stopped. Returned 2 years ago. Hoseok returned. Right after Taehyung disappeared. Jungkook's hands trembled slightly as he read further. He assisted in early investments, provided financial backing, helped establish initial business structure. He was with him. Jungkook whispered. The words tasted bitter. Hoseok was there. When Taehyung was broken, when Taehyung lost everything, when Taehyung needed someone, Hoseok was the one who picked him up, helped him stand again, helped him rebuild, stayed. Hoseok stayed. He was better. Better in every way Jungkook failed. Jungkook's jaw tightened. He remembered the scene again. Jungkook sank into his chair again, running a hand through his hair. I was supposed to be there. His voice broke. I was supposed to protect him. But instead, he became the reason Taehyung needed protection. Jungkook didn't go home. He sat alone in his office. Lights off. City glowing outside. Holding a file that told him everything he didn't want to know. And for the first time, he didn't want to fix anything, didn't want to fight, didn't want to win. He just wanted to go back to that one moment where Taehyung looked at him with trust in his eyes and chose differently. But time never gives second chances that easily. Jungkook didn't plan the meeting, but somehow it happened anyway. Jeon Hoseok, the man who now stood where Jungkook once belonged. Hoseok looked up from his coffee, calm as ever. No surprise, no tension, as if he had expected this. Sit, Hoseok said quietly. Jungkook frowned slightly. He sat. For a moment, neither spoke. Jungkook studied him carefully. Then, I wanted to speak with you. Hoseok nodded slightly. I assumed you would. You're close to him, Jungkook said. Hoseok didn't deny it. Yes. The simple answer tightened something in Jungkook's chest. How long? Hoseok's gaze softened slightly. Long enough to know when he's pretending he's okay. That hit hard. Jungkook looked away for a second. I didn't come here to fight, he muttered. Then, why did you come here? Hoseok replied. Then Jungkook asked the question that had been burning inside him. What are you to him? He took a slow breath. Someone who stayed, he said simply. Jungkook's hands clenched because that answer was everything he wasn't. I love him, Jungkook said suddenly. Hoseok's expression didn't change. You loved him before too, he replied calmly. The words landed like a blade. Jungkook's jaw tightened. I made a mistake. Money. Hoseok shook his head slightly. No. Jungkook frowned. You made choices, Hoseok corrected. Silence. And then, you didn't lose him because of me. Hoseok's voice remained soft, steady, unshaken. You lost him because you let go. I know what he went through. That answer hit harder than expected. Jungkook's voice lowered. Then, you know I'm trying to fix it. For the first time, Hoseok's expression shifted slightly. Not anger, disapproval. You don't fix something like that. Jungkook clenched his fist. I'm not asking for your permission. I'm not offering it either. The words were soft, but firm. Hoseok leaned back slightly, still calm. Jungkook's voice dropped to a whisper. I didn't know. You didn't try to know. Hoseok cut in gently. You don't get to hurt him twice. And whatever you're trying to do now, Hoseok continued quietly, shouldn't be for your own peace. Jungkook felt smaller than ever before. Jungkook stood up slowly. There was nothing left to say, because deep down, he already knew Hoseok was right.
Taehyung found out next day. Of course he did. Nothing stayed hidden from his anymore. He just stood in Jungkook's office doorway, silent. That silence was worse than anger. Jungkook looked up. His breath caught. Taehyung, did you investigate him? Straight, cold. Jungkook hesitated. Just for a second. Yes, that was enough. Taehyung laughed. Soft, bitter. You really have not changed. Jungkook stood up quickly. It's not like that. Then what is it? Taehyung snapped. His voice was not loud, but it carried something new. Anger. Real anger. Jungkook stepped closer. I just wanted to know. You lost the right to know anything about my life. Silence. That sentence cut deeper than anything before. Jungkook stopped because he knew he had no right to argue, no right to defend himself. I'm sorry. Jungkook's voice broke, finally, completely. I'm sorry for everything. Taeyong did not move. Jungkook stepped forward. I was wrong. I did not trust you. I did not listen. I let them poison everything and his voice cracked. I destroyed us. Silence. Heavy. Jungkook's eyes filled, but he did not look away. Please. The word came out like it cost him everything. Give me a chance to fix it. Something snapped. Finally, Taeyong laughed. But it was not soft. It was not warm. It was tired, broken, angry. You want chance? His voice was rose slightly. Not shouting, but sharp. Jungkook froze. You never listened. Each word hit harder. You choose to believe lies over me. Jungkook's breath became uneven, and because of you, the young voice broke for the first time. Because of you and your family, his eyes glistened. I lost my baby. Jungkook collapsed to his knees. I know, I know, I know. But Taeyong did not let him continue. You left me alone, Taeyong whispered now, when I needed you the most. Tears filled in his eyes instantly. I was in pain and you were not there, Jungkook. Jungkook's knees felt weak. I was begging. Taeyong's voice trembled. Begging for love. A pause. His eyes met Jungkook's, and for the first time they were not cold. They were full of pain. And you gave me doubt. Jungkook could not breathe, could not speak, could not exist. Taeyong wiped his tears quickly, regaining control, rebuilding the walls. And now his voice turned calm again, dangerously calm. You want forgiveness. Jungkook had no answer because there was not one. Taeyong stepped back. We are done here, he said quietly. Jungkook looked up, broken. Jungkook's hand fell weakly to his sides because deep down he knew that was not the end of his suffering. It was only beginning. Flashback. After leaving Jungkook, Taehyung came back to his old apartment. That night, no one came, no one called. Taehyung curled into himself. Silent tears first, then shaking breaths, then silent screaming into his pillow. Because grief had no sound in empty rooms, only weight. Days become nights, night becomes nothing. Taeyong did not know time anymore. Just pain, just silence. Hoseok did not expect him to find him like this. He wanted to surprise him, but he himself got surprised. He never, in worst nightmare, expected to find Taeyong like this, and when he saw him, Hoseok did not ask questions. He simply stayed. He took Taeyong to his place because he could not leave him alone here. That night was worst. Taeyong would wake up crying, sometimes screaming, sometimes silent. Hoseok never left. Sat nearby, waited. No pressure, no demands, just presence. Slowly, that presence became safety. Time passed slow. Taeyong stopped waiting for people, stopped hoping, stopped breaking. Instead, he worked, built, learned. Not to impress, not to love again. He started from nothing. Hoseok helped but never controlled, guided but never owned. Taeyong learned business strategy, control, and that's how We Grew was born. Not from ambition but survival, back in present. The room was heavy. Jungkook stood there, broken, trembling. I still love you, his voice cracked. Taeyong did not react immediately, just looked at him. Love was not enough then, a pause. It is not enough now. That night Jungkook sat alone in the dark, the same silence Taeyong once lived in, but now it belonged to him. His hands covered his face, his shoulders shook. I'm sorry, again, again, again. But no one answered because some apologies arrived too late to matter. Taeyong stood near the window of his office watching. He came back office to take his file which he forgot here. He saw Jungkook, broken, alone, but he did not move, did not go, did not speak, just watched quietly, and then turned away because forgiveness was never promised and love was never enough to survive that was lost. Next day, Jungkook stood in front of him one last time. No arrogance, no CEO mask, no control left to pretend with, just a man who had already lost everything. Taeyong looked at him calmly, not cold anymore, not soft either, just final. Jungkook's voice broke. Please, a pause, just don't shut me out completely. Taeyong exhaled slowly, and for the first time there was no anger in his voice, only truth. I forgave you. A pause. Jungkook's breath stopped, but I will never come back again. Jungkook's breath stopped, not because he did not expect it, not because a part of him still hoped. Things stepped back slightly, not running, not avoiding, just ending. I don't hate you. A pause, but I can't love you either. Chenko's eyes filled instantly. Taeyong, but he did not finish.
Because Taeyang was already turning away, and this time he didn't look back. The office felt different now. Not empty, just meaningless. Jungkook stopped searching, stopped waiting, stopped hoping, not because he healed, but because he finally understood. Some doors don't reopen. Days passed, then weeks, then months. He worked, he survived, he functioned. Taehyung didn't become someone else. He became himself, not the broken version, not the victim, but someone who finally belonged to himself. He worked, he built, he lived, not for revenge, not for love, but for peace. Hoseok visited sometimes. They didn't talk about the past much, because they didn't need to. One evening, Taeyang stood near the window, watching the city lights. Hoseok asked softly, Do you ever think about him? Taehyung didn't turn. A long pause. Then, yes. Another pause. But not like before. He looked down slightly. Calm. Now it doesn't hurt. Final line of the novel. Some loves are not meant to last, but they are meant to change you forever.